Hey people, how we all doing today? Good out there? Good, glad to hear. Let's fix our lights, see what's happening out in the world. Boring day, the day is officially over in about 30 minutes, or as long as you guys want to ask questions. We've already given away a lot of the topic. We'll wait to populate and then we'll get going. Not sure about what's wrong with my lights today. Something's kind of weird, but too late to fix it now because damn it, we're live and it's panic. And we're ready to go and it's Friday and it's Halloween and Christmas starts on Sunday according to Walmart and Target. So that's when Christmas starts because Walmart and Target are the arbiters of the holiday season. Bill Ackman is someplace still talking and taking potty breaks. We'll tune in live to that, see what's happening with Bill and his bladder and his supreme self-righteousness. And we'll just keep going. How is it, by the way, that he is not periscoping constantly? When I first saw Periscope, I kind of thought that it would just be a platform for Icon and Ackman to just basically follow themselves around 24/7 like the Truman Show and just kind of make observations on stuff that's broken, how they would fix it. Very strange that he's not doing it, but he does favor us with these conference calls every so often. He's a super smart guy and he's a billionaire, so no one will ever tell him to shut up. As is often the case in life, your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. You need people to tell you to shut up every once in a while. Anyway, so we're populated. Who saw Starbucks Quarter? I did. We did. I know some folks who I respect a lot who are short this name. You know my feelings on Howard Schultz. I'm a fanboy. I'm not a fanboy of very many guys, so it's worth noting on that. But here's the thing that I don't think gets enough attention. Howard Schultz has made Starbucks. What's my job? We'll get to that. I invest and trade and do whatever the hell I want to for a living. So if that's worth something, you can value that as you will. Here's the thing about Howard Schultz and Starbucks. He's made the conference calls his platform, Howard Schultz. He's one of the best merchants in the history of the world. You can go through that and I stand behind that statement. If you look at a chart when Howard left Starbucks, and then when he came back on the platform of we're going to clean up these cesspool stores, we're going to close stores, we're going to fix it, and we're going to make me proud of Starbucks again. That was about 6-7 years ago. The stock has gone skyrocket bananas ever since, and it continues to do so. Now, if I was going to be cynical and dark about it, I would kind of suggest that they're selling a legal drug and we're the first guys to do it, and Starbucks coffee is much more heavily caffeinated than any of the competitors, which is awesome. But he's more than just kind of manipulating the dials on the caffeine. Let me read from this transcript because, again, his conference calls are his masterpiece. These are Buffett's letters in terms of the investing lessons you can get out of them. If you want to know what good retail looks like, you kind of work backwards from the good retailers. You can't do that at Amazon right now because they're online. So go into a Starbucks, and here's how it works. Let me start with our strategy, says Schultz. Now, this is him talking. Creating brand differentiation and elevated in-store customer experience brought us to life through our over 300,000 Starbucks partners. Those are the people that work at Starbucks. Partners is a weird word to use, so Schultz uses it 7 times in the next 3 paragraphs. If you are a Starbucks employee, you know one thing if you listen to this call. Howard Schultz is your partner. He's your buddy. He's your guy. If you respect Starbucks and the customer, Howard Schultz will take care of you. He'll send you to college. Schultz is kind of why the minimum wage debate doesn't matter because he's intentionally focusing on this as an opportunity. It's the old story where 2 salespeople go up to a country where no one's ever worn shoes. 2 guys who sell tennis shoes. One guy says, "Oh, we're screwed. No one here wears shoes." The other guy says, "Holy crap, no one has shoes. This is the greatest opportunity of a lifetime." Schultz sees that no one's paying their employees much. Everyone's looking at it as wage inflation. Schultz says, you know what? We're going to make Starbucks a great place to work. We're going to employ as many people as possible. We're going to send them to college. Minimum wage. The last time he thought about minimum wage was years ago when he probably thought something to the effect of screw minimum wage. Why would anyone want to be the de minimis employer out there? It's a horrible reputation. Starbucks, it's not like the baristas are overjoyed with where they're going to go work, but there are 300,000 of them. You can't employ 300,000 people and have them love you in general. It's just retail is very hard and you're not going to get that. And let me tell you something, having worked retail, not Starbucks, but people who want their coffee at about 4 in the morning are probably a surly customer base. So Schultz has to pick these people up. He has to constantly be reinforcing the idea that our partners, you people who work at Starbucks, make us a ton of money, and I'm going to emphasize you as a key element of our strategy. Starbucks is, as a result, the only retailer on earth that lives in a world where malls are crowded and the employees are happy. It's just bizarre. And also, electronic payment is a thing at Starbucks. It's not a thing anywhere else in the world. My Apple phone device tries to get me to pay via tap. Scares the crap out of me because I'm not sure what it's having me buy. Starbucks has figured out how to make it work. They've decided to sell $8 coffee, and they're going to make it super easy for you to buy. If you want to go someplace else and drink bilge water or swill that's not going to get you caffeinated, which is after all what you're after, knock yourselves out. But Starbucks is going to grow 23 consecutive quarters of same-store sales growth. 23. They sell coffee. Ass-kicking machine. Read the conference calls. Read all of them. Go through the transcripts. There's free stuff out there on the internet all over the place. It's just so included that'll give you opinions that you should have to pay for normally. And these transcripts are one of them. Go to Seeking Alpha and simply read Howard Schultz talking on transcripts, particularly the annual ones. January 2014, he talked about how mall traffic was gone and it wasn't coming back and what Starbucks was going to do about it. 2 years later, he's not talking about mall traffic. Everyone else is. He's just living in a world where people continue to go to Starbucks 23 quarters in a row, same-store sales. Which, China's sales were weak. Yeah, China's sales were weak. Boo-hoo. They're going to figure it out. They didn't get yummed in China. Listen, I'm not going to argue for the stock. I'm just going to tell you that he's the best merchant going right now. You got to listen to these people. Speaking of which, what do you guys think of Christmas? Starting this weekend, Target, Walmart. They're going Christmas sales November 1st. Insanity. Watching the Peanut special last night reminded me of two things. One, just how grim and dystopic the world of the Peanuts were. Lucy is the meanest psychotic woman in the history of the world. And I fear for Linus. If he's still alive someplace, he's probably like a strip club impresario who's selling smack on the side. Horrible, horrible, disastrous childhood. Anyway, and it also reminded me of the holiday season. So the trees are up. The our hallways are decked. Everything's going crazy. It's Christmas time, and this will probably be the last first day of the Christmas season because it's never going to end after this. It's going to be nothing but promotions, which will help for Target and Walmart. They'll be just fine. So, what are you guys doing? Let's talk about it. Q&A, it's Friday. Week's over. How old is too old to dress up for a living? Who wants to hear about the Peanuts original Christmas special? I'll talk about whatever you want. Q&A, you knew it was coming. What do you got for me? What do I do for a living? How do you think labor costs going forward? I think labor costs will continue to escalate. I think the government will stay roughly 5 billion years behind the problem. Minimum wage doesn't matter because if you're hiring in a competitive world, that's fine. The millennials are kind of freaking everybody out, or old guys like me, because they value their time away from the job. What we need to see is how that works in a recession, because it seems like sort of a happy problem to have, and everyone talks about these labor costs going higher. But when people value their free time, they're not going to stay at work earning more money, so you don't pay them. So labor costs going forward, I think the government is actually sort of dysfunctionally a safety net way underneath where they should be in a reasonable world, but the minimum wage standard is not important. We're so far behind. The only debate should be whether it should be $20 or not exist at all, and instead we're not going to do anything. GoPro, dead money at best. I don't know, they're doing a $300 million buyback. WTF, GoPro. You went public 2 years ago. You did a secondary that raised $770 million last November, was it? And you only somehow got $97 million to the company for that. And now all of a sudden you're buying $300 million of your own stock. I would suspect that's why GoPro is kind of flatlining here at 25-ish, because, they're going in and supporting it. I don't see anything there that's going to work for them. They just came out with a big product, talked about mispricing it, which is Latin for we tried to make more money than we could have off this. It's hard to see GoPro as a compelling case. You might get a squeeze, you might get a trade, but the company itself is falling apart. Twitter. Everyone wants to talk about Twitter, and it's always trending on StockTwits. We've seen some pretty influential stuff come out about Twitter and the problem with their ad model, and the debate is whether or not they pivoted to a mass market kind of model too late. I've been critical of the company in the past for being too much of like this little club that doesn't do a very good job reaching out to the mass market, which is where you make your money. There are other people that think that business model doesn't work and they need to be more insulated. Truthfully, let's not confuse a couple things here. One is the business itself. For a company that's already public to be trying to pivot into a business model at this stage, that's insane. I'm not going to argue with people who think it's insane that a $25 billion corporation is still trying to figure out a business model. Ludicrous. From a stock perspective, though, it is almost impossible to get expectations as low as they are at Twitter without going bankrupt already. People really expect the worst out of this company. They don't have great expectations. And the company itself, again, they just started going mass market. They just realized, oh, you know what would be cool? More users. So they've made up all these metrics, monthly average user growth. They have to figure out how to be relevant during big events, because that's the model that is the only model that's working for media. Two models right now. Streaming on demand that you can't advertise for. Twitter can't do that. And events. Sports, basically. You can charge $2 million for a Super Bowl ad, $50,000 if you're streaming a game on Yahoo. There's just big money to be made in sports because you can't time shift it. You can complain all you want, but nobody's going to give you spoiler alerts on the World Series. You watch it all at the same time, everybody shares, and Twitter has to monetize that. I think they can, because I think advertisers would be idiots not to go there, but we'll see. It's going. Interest rates going up. Sell munis. Interest rates have been going up for 35 years, and eventually that'll be right. People who've been trading off that, not working so well. And it's time to ask the question, too. You're going to see a lot of charts about this is how stocks behave whenever interest rates go higher. It's statistical bullshit, because the sample size is way too small. The Fed is 100 years old, and we treat it as though it's kind of solved economics. It hasn't. We've never had interest rates this low forever. We don't know. We are in fresh powder of our minds here. A lot of the stuff that we learned about economics doesn't seem to be working. The inflation argument, that made a great amount of sense. Wow, you can't print this much money without inflation. Totally made sense. Completely didn't work. Completely did not work. We have no idea. Economics is a social science. What are interest rates going to do? 0.25% hike? I don't know. Go out and buy your washing machine now. You pay, if you finance it over 3 years, like $12 extra, maybe a little less than that. If you finance it at 0.25, that's the difference. So does it bring the economy to a screeching halt? No. Does it signal something much larger? Maybe, but we don't know what it is, and we won't know until the rear view, and there's no trade there. So don't sell your munis because of interest rates. It's a waste of sort of your own mental energy, and you'll just sit there and look at your munis and wonder why you sold them. I'm not a big believer in us letting things fail as long as you can throw money at them. Can Disney remain dominant in a world of cord cutting with an ESPN app? Don't know. Neither does Disney. And so they're kind of hedging their bets a lot of different ways. I think Disney is as good as they get. There's obviously going to be a place in content. If Disney is going to stay, it depends on what you mean by dominant. People are going to watch sports for just want of a better idea. It's almost impossible to picture a world where you go back to watching programs on a schedule, and it's also impossible to picture a world where you just go ahead and delay your watching of sports, so you do them on demand. And so that bifurcation of the market is going to continue to exist. How much is it worth? I don't know. We have to figure out pricing for it. Any new thoughts on McDonald's and Walmart? Walmart, I don't know. Drones? Am I excited about the Walmart drones? I think Amazon was just kind of screwing with Walmart on the whole drone idea. It's absurd to think that drones are going to do much. I'm not sure why you'd even announce that with the problems they have. It's and this is another chart I've seen out there. Buybacks are no longer working, and that's part of the Walmart story, is the $20 billion in buybacks. There's been a drop in kind of the buyback activity in the stocks that are doing big buybacks. Those stocks have been going lower. Some people think that foretells a crash. For my money, it foretells an age of reason when you don't just do buybacks all the time. The idea of going public is that everyone owns a piece, and you finance the company through that. Anything else is just shuffling around your balance sheet, so why would you possibly give a crap about that? It doesn't really do anything. If you borrow a bunch of money, buy back your own stock, your balance sheet is still kind of the same. The app solution, you guys really want to talk about the app. Listen, they got to price it. We saw, Cheers. Canada Dry Club soda, not bad. Okay, so in terms of what we saw from WWE yesterday, they're the ones out there that are charging $9.99 for the event app. It's the closest analog for what ESPN's trying to do. They saw a lot of churn and they were uncertain about the future. And also buried in that report, which is why WWE was down 10% or so, was the kind of something to the effect of, we have no flipping idea what our network revenues are going to be in 2016. Raw ratings are falling apart and like really, really bad because people are just watching on the network, I guess. And but the pay-per-views and the subscribers are going up or staying high anyway. They haven't been able to solve the problem entirely yet. And they have, again, what WWE has in common with ESPN is that it circulates around big events. There are big things that you want to see. The World Series is going on right now. It's our birthright to see the World Series. Would you pay for an app? Maybe. But if you sold baseball as an app, you could charge $50 for it in October and November, and no one would pay you a penny for it for the other 10 months of the year. So it's really hard to see how they kind of stretch that out. Sell Disney before earnings. I didn't really like what it felt like last time Disney reported, and I don't know that things have gotten better, but I don't think they've gotten worse. Listen, the market does not look like it's in a huge amount of trouble here. So would I want to sell Disney? Not really. I'm just kind of staying long it. Thoughts on Twitter voting system? Goldmine for data? Maybe. Or just something that we've already forgotten about. Maybe they'll ask a poll. I just figured out how to run the poll. I don't know that it is going to kind of be as much of a trigger as people think. They have a lot of different ways to get data on you. Who you follow, who you retweet, who you heart, who you've muted. This polling thing is just sort of a toy to get you to interact with Twitter more than a data mining thing, because that would involve reading your questions and curating. Polls need more than 2 choices. Frankly, most people don't get through the second choice, so I'm not sure that there is a need for multiple choice examinations. I think you could have poll question 2B, I don't give a shit about this poll, and no one would really notice. RT versus Fave is better. No, RT versus Fave is largely the same, pretty much. So that's what they do. Can hashtags like Link and Square do what to Twitter? Can hashtag Link Square and Twitter? Oh, I don't know what that means. Can hashtag Link Square? I'm not sure. I don't know that there is any synergy between Twitter and Square. I think they're both 2 big, huge problems. Square is a whole different system than what people think it is. It's a retail analytics software setup. So, make it profitable? No. Twitter could be profitable now if they just focus on selling ads, and they could kind of gut it in terms of the potential. Again, they have to sell the idea of marketing. Here's the big thing on marketing and what we learned when the brief run of pop-up ad blockers. Remember those? They were going to be a big deal for quite a while. When that came out, what it demonstrated was that consumers were willing to hand over all their information to sketchy app companies just to avoid ads. The current smartphone technology to get around people's hatred of ads is making the little X as small as humanly possible so you can't touch it with your finger. That is absurd. You have to go back to these the companies actually paying for it and say, just tricking people into pushing your ad is sort of BS, and I'm not sure that was really worth 50 cents, because if I'm standing on my smartphone and all of a sudden I've just triggered some pop-up hell show by trying to hit the X and my big dumb fingers hits the screen and it counts as a mash of that ad, that's BS. If people are paying to avoid your advertisement is worth nothing. You're just pissing people off. So the whole ad model is broken. On TV, it's pretty clear that that's happening. On smartphones and apps, it's less clear, but it should be quite evident right now. The model of a 30-second commercial, if this was a 2-minute segment with a 30-second commercial in front of it, we could sell ad space for it automatically. But when was the last time you actually were coerced into buying a product or convinced that you needed something based on the 30-second ad that ran before a video you clicked? The entire model is screwed up. People are going to have to pay for content in a different way. So that's going to be the reality of all broadcasting going forward. No one looking for an independent broker-dealers for rate raise. You like them? Raymond James, etc. They're okay. Not that excited about them, actually. Panera Bread, better food than Starbucks. Starbucks has been trying to do food forever. For whatever reason, Howard can't do food. But the problem is that it's what he understood about the coffee experience was that it's very sensual, that you're taking in and feeling sort of the smell of the beans and the roasting and the coffee, which is amazing and which is outstanding. It doesn't mix that well with food. And also, food doesn't have stimulants in it that people are secretly buying to kind of get excited about. So I should do a show from Starbucks. I think I've fanboyed enough on Starbucks on this, and I obviously have had plenty of caffeine. What am I going to be for Halloween? Every Halloween I do the same thing. I just give myself hair. And you would be amazed at people who wonder what the hell's going on. Just kind of a toupee. Some years an afro, other years long. I might go as one of those Thor guys that pitches for the Mets this year. Not sure, but I just give myself hair and hilarity ensues as people that I've known for years look at me and wonder who the hell I might be and why my voice sounds familiar. Did we go to high school together? It's very weird. Been shaving my head for 22 years. Organic is important going forward. Organic is just sort of faddish, I want to say, and I'm sorry for saying that, but what organic did was set the bar higher for the quality of food, but then the kind of premium for it has gone away. Once Walmart and Target have gone organic, it's become about as meaningful as homemade in terms of a branding opportunity. Most of the chemicals that go into your food, no GMOs, right? No genetically modified food, right? For God's sakes, we would not want to produce more food because we don't have enough people starving. Listen, they're not modifying the genes in most of these foods. On the extreme cases, you can argue that this will warp you, that will warp you. The incidence of obesity is obviously a national epidemic. It's very hard, however, to really make the connection on the GMOs. It's as much a media thing as it is an actual process, because it's not in Monsanto's best interest to poison the world. So the whole evil corporation thing kind of falls apart with that. So are they trying to make big, huge chickens? Of course. That's not necessarily the end of the world. Weight Watchers Oprah. I haven't looked at WTW. What's that doing this week? It was a company that you shorted till zero, and now the short thesis is gone. It's up this week? Excellent. That's outstanding. Listen, here's the problem on Weight Watchers right now is Oprah is just scary as hell in terms of what she's going to do to your short thesis. Weight Watchers, no one wanted to go to the clubs. No one was going to be there. It worked as a short idea. It was kind of like Herbalife for people who are whining rather than drinking powders. Now it's got the Oprah machine behind it. No one knows exactly what that means, but it complicates your short thesis and it kind of screws it up, and that's what got the stock to double. She's just an army, and she has an army, and they will go where she tells them to go. And yep, she rules to that point. So your short thesis on Weight Watchers is blowed all up. You need a new one, and in lieu of finding that new one, you should probably just kind of be long the stock, or just walk away from it, or just tilt your head and watch it the way you might an Oprah program. All right, one more, then we're out of here. I got some hair to put on. Should I use a Sharpie pen and just draw hair on like Homer Simpson, or should I get the wig this year? I'm not so sure. I don't know. Do I want to buy oil? No, I don't want to buy oil. Why would I possibly buy oil? McDonald's, we still like McDonald's. It's my second biggest long. Do a Halloween special tomorrow? Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. You guys trick-or-treating? Are you too old to trick-or-treat? How old is too old to trick-or-treat? I think I might have to trick-or-treat. I think I just might have to. With my hair. Because, again, no one will recognize me. I could commit the perfect crime. Did you see that guy who met his doppelganger last thing? I actually tweeted it. Some guy met almost his perfect double on a flight, and they sent out a picture. There's a link in my tweet. What would you do if you met your doppelganger? Would you frame him for like the perfect crime? Would you swap spouses? Would you swap families? Just be like, dude, we should just switch families. It would be like an 80s movie, a whole switcheroo. That would be cool. It would just be awesome. I just saw that the other day. Anyway, all right, my friends. Hey, have a fantastic weekend. Go out trick-or-treating. The answer to how old is too old to trick-or-treat is never. Go trick-or-treating. And if they don't give you candy, toilet paper their house. God damn it, a little civil disobedience. Just fine. Have a great weekend, folks. Good to see you.